Today I rise to adjourn in memory of Takedo Rose Matsui Ochi, trailblazer and true public servant. She was born December 15, 1938 in Los Angeles to Japanese immigrants and passed away on December 13, 2020, only 2 days shy of her 82nd birthday. She was a woman of vision, enormous character. When she was a child, her family was sent to Santa Anita Detention Center and a concentration camp in Arkansas due to the racist Executive Order 9066. There she witnessed many sink into despair after losing their homes, jobs, and so much that they worked for. After leaving the camp, life continued to be difficult for her family, but they overcame poverty and racism to build a life for their children and fight for citizenship. From a young age, she proved she was smart, a leader, and a fighter, attributes her parents nurtured in her, which led her to eventually pursue a master's degree in education, a law degree, and a life of public service. Like so many civil rights leaders, despite the cruelty inflicted upon her family by the state and federal government, she chose against violence, vengeance, or despair, and instead chose to work to create a better world. An example that is especially notable after the events of last week. She turned down a position to work as a prosecutor to work at USC's Western Center on Law and Poverty. There she became co-counsel on the landmark Serrano versus Priest case, which bolstered education equality. She went on to work for the City of Los Angeles in various roles where she created a significant law enforcement use of force policy, increased the number of women and people of color in the LAPD, and created new divisions within the department. On the federal level, she was a member of the Select Commission on Immigration and Refugee Policy, became influential in the fight to recognize Manzanar as a historical site and for reparations. She also was instrumental in creating stronger drug, human trafficking, and hate crime policies. After serving in Washington, D.C., she came home to LA to be the first Asian American woman police commissioner and advocate for causes she believed in. There are many notable accomplishments I haven't even mentioned. So instead, I will sum it up by saying, I know because of her accomplishments and work, the city, state, and country is better off for all of us. She is survived by Thomas Ochi, her loving and supportive husband. Thank you for adjourning in honor of this beautiful and remarkable person, Rose Ochi.
Thank you, Mr. Holden. Mr. Jones Sawyer, you are recognized on this adjournment in memory.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I too rise to adjourn in memory of Rose Matsui Ochi, a community leader and advocate for civil rights, justice reform, and law enforcement. Many of what I was going to talk about, Mr. Holden brought up. From a personal standpoint, as a young man working in the city of Los Angeles, where I met Rose Ochi, she was always one that would come to me and whisper in my ear pearls of wisdom. To a young African-American public servant, she didn't need to do that. I would like to believe she saw something in me that I didn't see early on in my career. But she was like that. She was the kind of person that went out of her way to make sure that everybody had an equal chance in this society. And it was because of the Latino uprising in the schools in the 60s, that's what drove her to become a lawyer, so that she could come back and fight and combat all the racism that not only that she had experienced, but she recognized that others from other communities experienced. And I knew she was somebody important in the mayor's office because when she walked into a room, you could almost see everybody rise because she had that much power, that much significance. And you knew you were dealing with a person of substance that you needed to deal with. When Eula Love was killed, she fought Chief Davis. If you know anything about Chief Davis during that time, you know that she was someone that you had to reckon with. And she developed use of force policies after LAPD shot Eula Love, a 39-year-old black mother and widow, at a time when we didn't have cameras to show what was really going on, something that a lot of people in the African American Latino community knew about, but no one really believed. When she was then the first Asian American woman to serve as an assistant attorney general as the director of the department's Justice Relations Service. Rose oversaw the agency's conflicts, the majority of which involved law enforcement practices, long before what we're talking about now. Throughout her career in community relations, Director Rose worked to ensure improvements to, does this sound familiar? Police community relations, police integrity and accountability, and hate crimes and race relations. That was in the 90s. She returned to Los Angeles in 2001. Rose became the first Asian American trustee for the Los Angeles County Bar Association and was an active member of the Japanese American Bar Association. Among many well-deserved awards, and she deserved many, Rose received the United States Department of Justice Attorney General Randolph Award for Distinguished Service, the National Asian American Legal Consortium's American Courage Award, and the City of Los Angeles Commendation for Outstanding Service. I wish that everyone in this chamber had an opportunity to meet Rose Ochi. If everyone in here had met her, they would be better for it. Yes, she's survived by her husband, Thomas H. Ochi, but she's leaving behind a legacy of community advocacy and fighting against injustices. Rose shared with a lot of us, do not let anyone define who you are or limit your aspirations. Never let anyone do that. Mr. Speaker and members, I respectfully request that we adjourn in the memory of Rose Matsui Ochi. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones Sawyer. And Mr. Muratsuchi in the rear of the chamber, you are also recognized on this adjournment.
Thank you very much. I don't want to take too much more of our colleagues' time, but I just wanted to, with the permission of our colleagues from Pasadena and from South Los Angeles, I wanted to add on my deep sorrow with the loss of a friend, Rose Matsui Ochi. For anyone in the Japanese American community, you knew who Rose Ochi was. Like Mr. Jones Sawyer said, when she walked into the room, you knew that she was there. She has such presence. She was a strong, articulate, beautiful woman. She was born in Boyle Heights, and at 3 years old, she was sent to the Rohr internment camp in Arkansas. And like Bill Fujioka, the former CEO of Los Angeles County, said, that really burned her lifelong commitment to fight for the underdog in her soul. I just wanted to thank Rose Ochi. I was one of many people, along with Mr. Holden, along with Mr. Jones Sawyer, so many people in the community whose lives have been touched, who were mentored by Rose Ochi. Thank you, Rose.